Okay, so in this video, I'm going to go over the comping guidelines that we have here in school. So I have written guidelines here, but I don't have a video. So I wanted to make this to try to help everyone who's struggling coming up with offers for properties. So if you want, you could pause this now. I'm not going to bore you and read through all this stuff, but you can pause this now if you want to read this. But basically, these are the basic rules of comping. So the general consensus here is that we want to compare similar properties. So you want to make sure they're similar in year built, in the size of the property, in the lot size if you're comparing single family homes. And then also, obviously, you don't want to compare a 2-story to a 1-story, stuff like that. You don't want to compare a house with a pool to a house without a pool, or a house with a garage to a house without a garage, like basic stuff like that. But you can pause this and read through this if you want. Then we also have this template here. And again, this is in my school community. You can join with the link in the description. It's free. And then we have, this is how to find the ARV. Then we have making adjustments to the ARV, factors that could affect it, and the offer formula. So I'm just going to kind of talk you through all this. And again, you can find this in the link in the description if you want to read all the stuff, but I'm just going to go through it live and hopefully help people out. So first step first is we're just going to pull up our subject property, and I've got a document open here already with the information. But this is what I like to do is just pull up the address and then put the basic information here in a Google Doc. And then we'll put our other comps here as well so that we can just keep track of everything all in one place. So the first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to look for ARV comps. So what I mean when I say that is we're looking for comps that would help us determine the ARV. And how I'm going to determine that is I'm just going to click through these listings. So I'll back up a little bit. First thing that I did here was I searched up the same address in a different tab, and then I drew a circle around the general area. So our property is like here in this little circle neighborhood here. And so I just drew a circle around these neighboring properties that are all townhomes, because the subject property is a townhome. So obviously we want to compare it to townhomes only. And so I drew a circle around this area here. Now, as a general rule, you don't want to go over any major streets. So like this street here is Gorman. I accidentally drew this circle here, but it's fine. It didn't include any properties. But you wouldn't want to go across the street, for example, on Gorman. I did kind of cross here on Kaplan and Kent Road, but this is all connected on this one street here. These are all like one neighborhood. So that's the only reason I did that. And then this returned us 13 results because I also filtered down by square feet. So our property has 1394, so we'll just say 1400 square feet. So I basically went plus or minus 400. So 1000 being the minimum and 1750 is the max. And then for year built, I did plus or minus of 10 years. So our property was built in 86. So I did a minimum of 1976 up until 1996. So plus or minus 10 years there. And then the last filter I used was the sold date, sold in the last 12 months. So that we can get only properties that were sold in the last 12 months, and they're fairly recent. So then I'm going to look here and I'm just going to click through these results. And these are sorted by homes for you. So I could sort from high to low. That usually gives you like the ARV comps first. So then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click through these and just kind of look at the photos. This one I actually wouldn't use because it's 4 beds and 4 baths. So it's quite a bit bigger than ours. So I would just go ahead and skip this one and go on to the next one. And now this one here, it's kind of on the larger side. So 1734 square feet is kind of on the bigger side. But we're just looking at these pictures. And so when I'm looking at these, again, this doesn't look like a flip to me. So I probably wouldn't use it as an ARV type comp. And so looking at these pictures, again, doesn't look like a flip to me. So I'm trying to see if I can find one so I can show you as an example. But basically what we're looking for to classify as like a flip comp is professional photos, first of all, a property that's looked like it's been flipped. So new flooring, new countertops. Like for example, if we're looking at this kitchen, this is a pretty much original kitchen. Doesn't have updated countertops, doesn't have like the fresh white paint everywhere, or the white cabinets. So this looks like it's original. It's not ugly by any means, but it's just doesn't look like a flip. So I'm still searching through these listings and trying to see if there's any flips here. And maybe there's not, which makes it a little bit harder to do this process, but we can still go through it. So actually, this is a perfect example here. So this looks like a flip. So as you can see, when you compare this to the one we just looked at, maybe they didn't put the refrigerator and they didn't do like maybe the high-end finishes, but this looks like it was flipped. It's got fresh paint, fresh floors, it looks like new appliances, the windows look good. So this is what we're looking for. We're just clicking through the photos here and looking for signs of a flip property. And you see they got the new vanity and new mirror and everything. So I would say this is definitely a flip. So then what I would do is I would copy the address, and then I would take note of the sold price and the square footage. So I'm just going to drop this in here, comp number 1, and it sold for $277, $450. And then, sorry, I forgot the square footage is 1202. So I would just divide those two, and I'll do some math here real quick on my calculator. That gives us 230, and I'll just round up, 231. So 231 price per square foot. That's what we're calculating with this formula here. So that means that this comp is 231 price per square foot. So then I would see if there's any other ones that I can use. This one looks like a flip as well. As you can see, it's got like the nice decorations here, you know, new appliances and everything. Same thing. It probably looks like it might have been the same person who flipped both of these. So that's a flip as well. This one also looks good. This is like a flip as well. So I'm just clicking through these here. This one could go either way. I'm not totally sure, but this looks like it was definitely cleaned up for sure. The track lighting, I don't know. So I might not use that one. But we have 3 good ones right here. So I'm just going to edit this, and then I'm going to input all this information so you don't have to watch me do it. So just fast forwarding now, I did those 3 comps. I did all the math. And what we did here is we found out the average price per square foot for each property. Then we added those 3 numbers up right here. And then we got 705. And then we divided by the number of comps that we found. So divided by 3 properties comes out with 235 as the average price per square foot. So next, what we're going to do is take the average that we found, and we're going to multiply that by our square footage of our subject property. So I'm just going to do that math real quick, 1394. And that equals 327,590. 327,590 equals theoretically our ARV for this property. So that's our estimated ARV based on these 3 comps. Now, I will say, if you don't have at least 3, I wouldn't use this formula, because I think you need at least 3 to come up with a decent average. Like, for example, if you only found 1 comp and you're going to base the ARV off of only 1 comp, it's not going to be accurate. So I would say at least 3, and it'd be even better if you could find 5 or 6. You don't have to go through and do 20 properties, but I would say anywhere from 3 to 6. So at least 3, and probably don't do any more than 6. That's just kind of a waste of time at that point. You'll get a good average if you get 5 or 6. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to go back and we're going to look at the as-is comps. So we're going to go back here and we're going to look at all these as-is comps. I'm going to ignore this first one because it's quite a bit bigger than ours. And so I'm going to, actually, I went in the wrong tab, I'm sorry. So I'm going to ignore that first one because it's quite a bit bigger than ours. So this one here, 1906. So then we'll just look at the rest of these, and this one's quite a bit bigger as well, but it's still a 3-bed, 3-bath, so I'd probably use that one. So then we would go through and we would look at the rest of these, and there's 13 results. So I would just take another 3 to 5 properties that sold as is, and then I would take the average of those. So we just do the same exact process, but excluding the ones we just used. So we use these 3 right here. These 3 on Kent Road were the ones we used for ARV. So I would just use some of these other ones here that sold, but they were in as-is condition. And I'm saying that because they weren't in terrible shape, but these are the pictures. So it wasn't something that was a flip. It was something that was just sold, you know, as is without any upgrades or anything. So I'm just going to go through and do the same process with a few of the as-is comps, and then I'll come back and show you what I did there. Okay, so I did the same thing with the as-is comps, and I used these 3 comps here. Took all the sold prices divided by the square footage, and we came up with an average of 205, which is the average price per square foot for the as-is comps. So what that let us determine is we multiply 205 by our square footage up here, 1394, and it gives us the estimated as-is value of our subject property as 285,000. So what we're going to do with that is we're going to take this number, the estimated as-is value, and we're going to divide that by the estimated ARV. So I just rounded up to 328,000. And when you do 285 divided by 328,000, then that gives us 86%. And what that number means is, based on our math and our research, this is the average that the properties are selling for, percentage of ARV in as-is condition. So since these properties on average gave us this 205 price per square foot number, then we multiply that by our square footage. And again, that gave us an average of 86% of ARV that people are buying homes for as is. So homes that are not flipped, that are in decent condition, but they're not flipped. So then what we're going to do is we're going to take that number that we found. So it might be 86%, it might be 90%, it might be 60%. Whatever number it is, you're going to deduct an additional 10% for your profit. So I typed this out here, but you would take whatever number you come up with here, and then you would deduct an additional 10% from that for your profit. And then you would go ahead and do this formula, which is ARV. So ARV of 328,000, multiply that by 76%, which is your average percentage of ARV that people are buying, minus an additional 10% for your profit. And that would give you 249,000 as your max offer price. So hopefully that all makes sense. And then you would want to start your negotiations at 80% of that number. So for example, 249 times 80% is 199. So you would want to start somewhere around there so that you have room to actually come up. But that would be your max offer price, 249,000. So hopefully that makes sense. That is how you can comp these properties quickly without taking too much time. Obviously, this video, I paused a few times to actually do this math. But as you do this process, you'll get better and better at it. So hopefully that makes sense. Just leave any comments below, and I'll be happy to talk to you about it. And yeah, hopefully that helps you lock up more deals. Thanks for watching.